It took me years to find them. Rain needles the concrete where I-70 splits from I-71. Under the bridge. A man. A fevering child. A blue tarp breathing like a frightened lung. He looks up. My husband's eyes in a stranger's face. My grandson. His baby. Evan. A flinch. Who are you? I am your grandmother. No. My grandmother is dead. Your father lied. The baby whimpers. Thin. Saw-edged. Trucks howl overhead. Water pours through a crack in the world. Come with me, I say. We argue later. If we wait, she will not make it. He does not move. Evan, I whisper. I have been dead a long time. Not tonight. He watches the rain as if it could answer him. Come with me, I say again. You are safe now. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. The rain comes down hard in Columbus. Not gentle rain, not the kind that whispers. This rain hammers. It pounds the concrete ribs where the highways split. I-70 meets I-71 like broken bones. Under that bridge, a man crouches. His back against the wind. A baby pressed to his chest. Her breathing sounds wrong. Like a saw cutting through wet wood. Like something breaking that should not break. I know those eyes. Arthur's eyes. My husband's eyes. Set in a stranger's face. I lift the blue tarp. Water runs off it in sheets. The man looks up. Fear in those familiar eyes. I test his name like testing thin ice. Evan Reed. He flinches. Pulls the baby closer. Steam rises from her knit cap. Her fever burning through wool. Through rain. Through everything. Who are you? He asks. His voice rough from weather. From worry. From sleeping under highways. I tell him my name. Margaret Holt. Your grandmother. He stares. The baby coughs. A small bark that frightens us both. That sound cuts through rain. Through traffic thunder. Through 30 years of lies. I have a car, I tell him. A pediatric specialist on standby for dawn at the Granville Hotel downtown Columbus. He does not move. The baby coughs again. Smaller this time. Weaker. This will cost you an hour, I say. Might buy her the night. We will meet the pediatric specialist at first light. He watches the rain, counting things I cannot see. Pride. Fear. The last of his heat. The last of his hope. He nods once. We walk to my car. My shoes splash through puddles. His boots squelch in mud. The baby makes no sound now. Too tired to cry. Too sick to fight. I explain while we walk. How I found him. A private investigator traced him through denied shelter applications. Bus passes swiped on Long Street. Traffic cameras catching glimpses of blue tarp. I paid for speed and discretion, I tell him. Public records and cameras tell more truth than family does. That is how I knew this spot, I tell him. He says nothing, just breathes with the baby. In, out, like keeping time to a song only they can hear. Her name, I ask. June, he whispers. June. I repeat it, like a promise tucked inside a word. Like something worth saving. The car is warm. German leather. Heated seats. Everything my grandson has never had. Everything his daughter needs right now. I start the engine. The heater breathes life into cold air. June stirs against Evan's chest. Her fever makes the windows fog. Evan stares ahead. At the windshield wipers. At the rain they cannot quite defeat. At a world that keeps moving when you have nowhere to go. I found you through shelter records, I tell him. Through food pantry lists. Through the small paper trail of people trying to survive. The investigator was thorough, discreet and fast. They traced him through missed rent. Through a partner who left. Through parents who said no when a baby got sick. Last known movements, they wrote. Food pantry on Parsons Avenue. Bus ride east. Nights under the highway overpass. The report came with photographs. Grainy stills from traffic cameras. A man curling himself around a bundle. Protecting something small from something vast. I had a jet waiting on standby. Now June sleeps and trembles. Her fever dreams whatever babies dream when the world goes wrong. Evan's hand rests on her back. Feeling for breath. For life. For reasons to keep going. The Granville Hotel sits like hope with valet parking. Warm light spills from windows. Real heat. Real beds. Real doctors who come when you call. I text Dr. Brooks. We are here, I write. Baby febrile. Lethargic. Cough. Evan sits on the bed's edge. Like exhaling might make it disappear. Like comfort is something you can use up if you are not careful. I order tea. Towels. Soup. Things that say you belong here. Things that say you are safe. At the hotel he finally lets me hold June while he warms his hands around the cup. She weighs almost nothing. Burns with fever that makes my arms ache with memory of Derek at this age. June sleeps and trembles. But she sleeps. Under clean sheets. In warm air. Away from highways that eat hope and rain that steals heat. For the first time in days, Evan and I breathe at the same time. In, out, like keeping time to a song we both remember. Like believing in mornings that might come. The rain still falls outside. But it cannot reach us here. Cannot touch this child. Cannot take what I have found. I have my grandson back. I have his daughter breathing in my arms. I have time enough to teach them what safety feels like. The rain can keep falling. We are done being afraid. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Days before this moment, I sat at my Boston desk. Mahogany gleaming under bankers' lamps. The black folder waited at the corner. I pretended it did not tilt my world. Holt Markets. Our New England grocery chain. 47 stores now. Started as Arthur's Corner Shop. Milk kept cold. Wages kept warm. Dreams kept small until they grew too big to hold. The folder held one name. One address. One last chance. Arthur built this empire from nothing. From a cash register that stuck. From customers who paid on Friday when they could. From belief that groceries matter. That feeding people matters. That keeping your word matters most of all. Years ago, our son broke that word. Derek. My beautiful boy. My beautiful thief. He found Arthur's study on a Tuesday night. Found the floor safe behind the bookshelf. Found the combinations Arthur kept in his wallet. The emergency cash. The bearer bonds. Everything we saved for bad weather. Derek took it all. Arthur found the empty safe on Wednesday morning. His heart found the truth before his mind could catch up. I remember the sound he made. Not a gasp. Not a cry. Something smaller. Something breaking from the inside out. He gripped his chest. Called Derek's name. Called my name. Called for help that came too late. The ambulance arrived in 8 minutes. The paramedics worked for 23. Arthur died holding a photograph of Derek at graduation. Smiling. Proud. Before he learned what pride could cost. The coroner wrote heart attack on the death certificate. I know better. I carry the real cause. Derek's betrayal stopped Arthur's heart. Stopped it clean as a switch. I stopped praying the week Arthur died. But I never stopped listening. Never stopped waking when something sounded wrong in my bones. At 207 3 nights ago, I called Kingsley Investigations. The best money can buy. The kind of thorough that costs and delivers. Find my grandson, I told them. Find Evan Reed. The only map I had was old. Derek's last known address. An employee file from years past. A Christmas card that arrived by mistake. Forwarded mail with a Columbus postmark. The investigators worked quickly. The report arrived sparse and brutal from Kingsley. Denied shelter, pantry visits, bus swipes, blue tarp. Evan Reed, 28 years old, laid off packaging plant mechanic. Partner gone. Infant daughter present. Parents refused help when the baby got sick. Last known movements painted a picture I knew by heart. Food pantry on Parsons Avenue. Bus rides east when you have no car. Nights under highway overpasses when you have no home. The photograph showed everything. A man curled around a small bundle. Blue tarp stretched overhead like false sky. Highway lights cutting through rain like accusations. I booked the jet that same night. Private terminal at Logan. Flight plan filed for Columbus. Weather reports calling for storms. Now I sit in the Granville Hotel downtown Columbus. Watching June breathe in the lamplight. Her fever still high. Her breathing still labored. The rasping sound that cuts through hotel quiet. Evan sleeps fitfully in the chair beside her crib. His hand on her back. Feeling for life. For hope. For reasons to keep going. The doctor will come at dawn. Dr. Elena Brooks, Chief of Pediatric Infectious Diseases. The kind of thorough that money buys and desperation needs. I ordered soup from room service. Tea that comes in real china. Towels soft enough for baby skin. Everything Evan has not had. Everything June requires. The bill does not matter. The Holt fortune sits in banks and bonds. In real estate and retail space. In 47 stores that feed New England families. Arthur built it for this moment. For emergencies. For family. For grandchildren he never met but always hoped to find. Derek stole the emergency cash. But emergencies are bigger than cash. Deeper than bonds. More important than money that fits in safes. This is the emergency Arthur prepared for. The one that requires everything. The one that costs what it costs and pays what it pays. June's fever still burns at midnight. Her breathing labored. The rasping continues. The cutting sound echoes in the quiet hotel room. Evan wakes when she stirs. A restless movement. A feverish sigh. The sound of illness waiting for medicine that has not yet arrived. I text the estate. Hollowell needs preparing. The East Suite with morning light. Fresh linens. A crib that does not wobble. A humidifier whispering peace. Arthur designed those rooms for grandchildren. Drew the plans himself. Windows facing the marsh. Soft carpets for small feet. Walls painted the color of hope. Derek never brought his son to visit. Never brought him home. Never let us know we had a grandson breathing somewhere in the world. But Arthur knew. Somehow he knew. The night before he died, he made me promise. Find the boy, he whispered. Find him when I cannot. It took me years to understand. Years to hire the right investigators. Years to stop being angry and start being useful. The black folder sits empty now. Its contents delivered. Its purpose served. Its weight lifted from my desk. From my conscience. From my heart. June sleeps restlessly. Evan sleeps watching for danger. I sleep knowing Arthur's promise is kept. Tomorrow we wait for the doctor. For healing to begin. for fever to break in its own time. The emergency continues. The healing waits. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. By first light, Dr. Elena Brooks arrives. She carries authority in her travel bag. The kind of calm that stops bleeding. That silences fear. She wears scrubs under a wool coat. Stethoscope around her neck like a promise. Her hands move with practiced certainty. No wasted motion. No doubt. Chief of Pediatric Infectious Diseases at Riverview Children's Hospital. Professor. The hospital most Columbus parents trust for tough cases. The letters after her name could fill a page. They matter less than her steady fingers on June's chest. She listens through the stethoscope. Counts heartbeats. Measures breath. Her face reveals nothing. Doctors learn to hide their thoughts until they know them. June's pulse ox reads low. Oxygen struggling to find its way. Dr. Brooks nods once. The kind of nod that makes decisions without words. Lower respiratory infection, she tells us. Bacterial. Treatable. Caught in time. She opens her bag like opening a pharmacy. Antibiotic syringes measured to the milligram. A nebulizer that fits over June's tiny face. Medicine that tastes like hope. Evan's hands shake when he signs the consent forms. His signature wavers like his faith in good things happening. Will she be okay? He asks. His voice cracks on the question. On the fear beneath it. Dr. Brooks looks him in the eye. With warmth and medication and food, yes. She will recover. She writes instructions in handwriting that looks like architecture. Precise angles. Clean lines. Directions that leave no room for error. Pre-measured doses in tiny bottles. A humidifier that whispers healing into dry air. Her direct number on a card heavy as gold. Call me, she tells Evan. Day or night. If anything changes. If you worry. If you need to hear her voice again. Authority gleams off that card. The kind of privilege that answers phones at midnight. That makes house calls. That treats babies like they matter. The medicine works its quiet magic through the morning hours. June's breathing grows easier. The rasping fades. The cutting sound that frightened us both finally goes quiet. By mid-morning, her fever breaks. We all feel it. The change in her sleep. The softness returning to her breath. The heat leaving her small body like storm clouds clearing. Her color returns with the healing. Pink instead of pale. Warm instead of burning. The fever that nearly took her finally surrendering to medicine and hope and stubborn love. When June's breathing finally settles into the rhythm of healing, I make my offer. Hollowell Estate, I tell Evan. On the North Shore outside Boston. He stares at his hands. At the floor. At anything that is not my face. Locks on your doors, I continue. Nursery ready. Pediatrician on call. Come for a week. No speeches. No strings. The word week hangs between us like a lie we both want to believe. A week means longer. Means safety. Means time to heal what is broken. Evan studies the hospital bracelet on June's wrist. Her name printed in block letters. Read, June. Like proof she exists. Like proof she matters. I do not know you, he says finally. The words come out flat. Careful. The voice of someone who has been hurt by strangers offering help. You do not have to know me, I tell him. You only have to trust that I want her to live. He looks at June sleeping in the hotel crib. Her fever finally broken. Her breathing steady for the first time in days. 1 week, he says. The words taste strange in his mouth. Like a promise he is afraid to make. We both pretend the agreement is small. That a week means 7 days. That leaving will be simple when the time comes. At dawn, the car takes us to the private terminal. German leather seats. Climate control. Everything heated to the exact degree of comfort. June dozes against Evan's chest. The medicine working its quiet magic. Her color returning. Her breath coming easier. Evan stares out the window at Columbus shrinking below. At the highway overpass where we found them. At the life he is leaving behind. The jet rises through gray clouds into clean blue sky. Above the weather. Above the storm. Above everything that tried to drown them. I watch the clouds like something to forgive. Like weather that did its worst and lost. Like prayers I stopped saying 30 years ago. Evan's eyes close despite himself. Sleep taking him when safety allows it. When someone else holds the watch. When someone else worries about tomorrow. June sleeps in healing dreams. Whatever babies dream when medicine works. When fever breaks. When breathing comes easy again. The pilot announces our arrival time. 90 minutes to Boston. To Logan International. To the car that waits with heated seats and soft blankets. Evan wakes when the engines change pitch. When the plane begins its descent. When the ground rises to meet us. Below, the North Shore spreads like a promise. Hollowell Estate waiting in morning light. Arthur's house. Arthur's dream. Arthur's grandchildren coming home at last. The landing gear touches down smooth as settling into bed. The plane rolls to the private terminal. To stairs that lead to cars. To cars that lead to home. Evan gathers June's things. The diaper bag. The medicine bottles. The humidifier that keeps her breathing clear. Ready, I ask him. Though neither of us knows what we are ready for. What waits beyond this airplane. What healing looks like when it gets started. He nods once. The same nod he gave under the bridge. The nod that means yes to hope. Yes to help. Yes to whatever comes next. We walk down the stairs into Massachusetts morning. Into air that smells of salt marsh and possibility. Into a future that starts now. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Hollowell Estate sits above the Ipswich Marsh like a promise kept. Old brick weathered smooth by Atlantic storms. Windows that catch morning light and hold it. Arthur designed this house room by room. Drew every line himself. The wide scullery where meals and mending begin in the same space. The library with ladder tracks worn smooth by reaching hands. I put Evan and June in the East Suite. Morning sun through tall windows. Fresh cotton sheets that smell of lavender and new beginnings. A crib that stands solid without wobble or creak. The humidifier whispers in the corner. Its gentle cloud adding moisture to heated air. Dr. Brooks prescribed humidity. I deliver oceans of it. Your room's lock from the inside, I tell Evan. I hand him a phone with 3 numbers programmed. Mine. The driver. The pediatric concierge who answers day and night. Use them, I say. Or do not. The choice stays yours. He tests the lock twice. Turns the deadbolt with his thumb. Listens for the click that means safety. That means control. That means no one enters without permission. The windows face east toward marsh grass and tidal creeks. Toward salt water that rises and falls with ancient rhythm. Toward horizon that stretches past worry. Arthur planted the oak grove in 1985. For shade, he said. For grandchildren to climb. For futures we could not yet imagine but hoped would come. Those trees frame June's window now. Their branches reaching toward glass like hands offering protection. Like promises that storms pass. That spring always returns. For 2 days I leave trays outside their door. Broth still steaming. Toast cut into triangles. Soft eggs that slide easy down small throats. I write the same note each time. Eat while it is hot. The plates return empty. Clean. Sometimes stacked with the careful precision of someone who knows hunger. Who wastes nothing. Who says thank you through actions when words feel too expensive. June's fever edge dulls hour by hour. Her cough trades gravel for sand. Then sand for whispers. Then whispers for silence. On the third night, a tune drifts down the hallway. Unstudied. Unpolished. The sound a man makes when he has nothing else worth more than his voice. A lullaby older than memory. Older than hurt. The kind fathers sing when children need reassurance that morning will come. I stand in my own hallway listening. Remembering Arthur humming the same melody when Derek was small. When Derek believed in bedtime stories. Before he learned that stories sometimes lie. At breakfast Evan hovers by the back door. Like a man testing the edge of new language. Like someone who has forgotten how kitchens work when you belong in them. He watches morning light move across hardwood floors. Watches dust motes dance in window beams. Watches everything except my face. Why help me? He asks finally. The question comes out careful. Guarded. The voice of someone who has learned that help costs more than it gives. I tell him about the safe. About the dull thud of empty drawers. About Derek's hands taking what was not his to take. Arthur kept emergency money in that floor safe. Bearer bonds worth more than most people see in lifetimes. Cash for disasters. For storms. For family crisis that could not wait for banks to open. Derek found the combination in Arthur's wallet. Found it on a Tuesday night when we slept upstairs. Found it and emptied everything by Wednesday dawn. Arthur discovered the theft Wednesday morning. His heart discovered betrayal before his mind could protect him from it. I remember the sound he made. Not surprise. Not anger. Something smaller. Something breaking from inside the chest where hearts live. He gripped his shirt above his heart. Called Derek's name to an empty house. Called for help that came too late to matter. The ambulance arrived in 8 minutes. The paramedics worked for 23. Arthur died holding Derek's graduation photograph. Still believing in the boy who stole his breath. The coroner wrote heart attack. I know better. Betrayal stopped Arthur's heart as clean as any blade. Derek disappeared with the money. Left no forwarding address. No apology. No explanation for killing his father with greed. Because theft should end with the thief, I tell Evan. Not passed down to the next generation like some poisoned inheritance. Evan nods once. The kind of nod that accepts weather. That understands storms happen. That knows some damage cannot be undone but can be stopped from spreading. Dr. Cam Patel arrives that evening. Attending pediatrician with hospital privileges at North Shore Children's. Dr. Brooks sent him with instructions written in her careful hand. He examines June with the same practiced calm. The same steady fingers on small chest. The same stethoscope that listens for life working properly again. Her lungs sound clear, he reports. Infection responding to treatment. Airways open. Oxygen levels normal. All the words we needed to hear. He leaves new prescriptions. Adjusted doses for a healing child. A schedule that counts days until medicine stops being necessary. The word we both wait for finally comes. Improving. June sleeps without the humidifier's help. Without medicine every 4 hours. Without the sound of struggle in her breathing. Evan sleeps in the chair beside her crib anyway. His hand still resting on her back. Still counting breaths. Still keeping watch over what he almost lost. The estate settles into evening quiet. Marsh grass bending with night breeze. Tidal creek whispering against muddy banks. Oak leaves rustling stories older than grief. Arthur's house remembers how to hold children safely. How to warm small bodies. How to muffle footsteps so babies sleep undisturbed. The East Suite glows with lamplight and healing. With medicine working. With fever broken. With breath coming easy as it should. I walk the main hallway checking locks. Testing alarms. Making sure security works without feeling like prison. Arthur designed safety into every room. Locks that work from inside. Phones that dial help. Windows that open onto protected ground. He built this house for grandchildren he hoped to meet. For family dinners. For Christmas mornings. For all the futures Derek stole when he opened that safe. But houses outlast theft. Love outlasts betrayal. Hope outlasts everything that tries to kill it. Tonight June breathes without machines. Evan sleeps without watching highways. I sleep knowing Arthur's dream lives in these rooms. The healing continues. The safety holds. The promise keeps itself. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. People ask for work when what they need is purpose. I offer neither charity nor empty titles. Start where mistakes are loudest, I tell Evan. Distribution center in Dorchester. Night shift. Real work for real pay. He stares at me across the breakfast table. June sleeps in the portable crib beside us. Her breathing steady as tidewater. Her fever 3 days gone. I do not want your pity, he says. The words come out sharp. Defensive. The voice of someone who has learned to refuse help before it comes with strings. This is not pity, I tell him. This is business. We need workers who understand hunger. Who know what it means when shipments run late. He applies through HR like any stranger. Drives to Dorchester in the estate car. Interviews under fluorescent lights that make everyone look tired. The hiring manager sees his gap in employment. Sees the address on his application. Asks the questions that matter for moving boxes in the dark. Can you lift 50 pounds? Can you work until dawn? Can you show up when weather makes other people call in sick? Evan answers yes to everything. Gets the badge without my name attached to it. Without favors. Without shortcuts that make honest work feel dishonest. The distribution center smells of cardboard and clean freon. Industrial air that moves through buildings designed for efficiency. Not comfort. Pallets move like quiet chess pieces. Receive. Sort. Stage. Ship. The rhythm that feeds New England families before they know they are hungry. Evan learns the dance fast. Heavy items low for stability. Fragile items high for safety. Fast movers near the dock for speed. He maps the warehouse in his mind. Aisle numbers. Product codes. The logic that turns chaos into commerce. Into paychecks. Into groceries on kitchen tables. Cold storage teaches its own lessons. How long you can work when breath makes clouds. When fingers stiffen inside work gloves. When the freezer door sounds like hope when it opens outward. He tapes a small sign where drivers actually look. Check seals. Sign. Breathe. 3 words that prevent returns. That save time. That turn loading docks into partnerships instead of arguments. Supervisors notice workers who think past their own shift. Who solve problems instead of reporting them. Who make Tuesday easier because they planned on Monday. After 1 week, Evan asks for morning hours at store number 14 in Somerville. Closer to home. Closer to June. Closer to customers instead of boxes. I approve the transfer without hesitation. Store work teaches what warehouses cannot. How groceries become meals. How customers become neighbors. How business becomes service. The Somerville store sits in a neighborhood that works hard for small victories. School aides buying coffee before first bell. Line cooks grabbing lunch between shifts. Grandfathers with shopping lists written in careful block letters. Evan watches the first customers like studying scripture. Learning their rhythm, their needs, their hurry. He moves the coffee urn closer to the entrance. For people who cannot linger but need caffeine to survive their morning. Who count minutes like money. Baby formula goes within easy reach of grocery carts. No stretching. No asking for help. No shame for feeding children the way children need feeding. He makes space beside the service desk for strollers. Wide enough for turning around without apology. Without blocking other customers. Without feeling like obstacles. Small changes that save seconds. Seconds that matter to people paid by the hour. Who work 2 jobs. Who measure time in what it costs to lose. When he rearranges end caps by daily routine, checkout lines move faster. Breakfast items left. Lunch straight ahead. Dinner to the right. The logic of how people eat when they plan ahead. Store managers measure everything. Items per minute. Lines per hour. Customer satisfaction in surveys and complaints. Evan's adjustments show in numbers that matter to accountants. But they show in other ways too. In customers who smile instead of sigh when they see him stocking shelves. Who ask his advice about dinner. Who treat him like someone who belongs. At Hollowell, June grows stronger in morning light. I carry her through rooms Arthur designed for children's laughter. Through hallways that echo with small footsteps. She points at paintings with stubby fingers. Makes sounds that almost become words. Laughs when oak leaves tap against windows like visitors asking to come inside. I feed her breakfast in the sunny kitchen. Soft eggs cut small. Toast with honey from hives Arthur planted. Milk warmed to the exact temperature of comfort. Her eyes are Arthur's eyes. The same gray-green that changes with weather. The same curiosity about how things work. The same patience with puzzles that take time to solve. She naps in the East Suite while Evan works his shifts. Sleeps in sunlight that moves across her crib like time made visible. Like promises keeping themselves hour by hour. I read to her from books Arthur collected for grandchildren he hoped to meet. Simple stories about animals who help each other. About kindness that costs nothing but pays everything. When Evan returns from work, he finds her clean and fed and happy. Finds dinner waiting in the warm kitchen. Finds home feeling less like temporary shelter and more like place he might belong. He tells me about his day while June plays with wooden spoons on the kitchen floor. About customers who remember his name. About problems solved with thinking instead of complaining. Winter Basket becomes our pilot program. Weekly boxes of groceries flagged by school counselors and clinic social workers. Basics delivered without questions. Without forms. Without shame. Evan chooses the pickup location. An unremarkable plaza beside a bus stop. Early morning when privacy matters most. When children sleep and adults handle what needs handling. He stages carts by appointment time. Clips pencils to clipboards for easy signing. Pairs volunteers who lift with volunteers who listen so lines do not stall for reasons that matter. The program grows by word that travels carefully. Through people who know hunger. Who understand that help works best when it feels like respect. Numbers tell part of the story. Families served. Meals provided. Children who eat breakfast before school instead of pretending they are not hungry. But other numbers tell more. Fewer fainting episodes on bus routes that pass our pickup site. Elementary tardies dropping on Thursdays when boxes arrive. Evan's name appears on no reports. No headlines. No recognition that draws cameras. He measures success the way Arthur taught me. By mornings. By whether people eat. By whether children grow. That night the estate feels different. Less like a museum to everything lost. More like a house that remembers its purpose. Like rooms that waited 30 years for the right footsteps. For children's laughter. For family dinners around tables that sat too long empty. June falls asleep in Evan's arms while he hums Arthur's lullaby. The same melody. The same gentle rhythm that makes evening feel safe. Work gives him confidence. Purpose gives him peace. Home gives him hope that tomorrow might be worth the effort of getting there. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Growth draws cameras like blood draws sharks. A city councilor needs a backdrop for his re-election speech. A reporter likes the way morning light catches produce mist. I stand out of frame. In shadows where cameras do not reach. Where power works without needing credit. Evan keeps his head down the way a man keeps his head down when attention means trouble. When being noticed means being questioned. When privacy costs less than publicity. A mother with twins asks if he can hold her baby while she eats. Both hands free for the first time all week. For coffee while it stays hot. For a sandwich eaten in bites instead of stolen pieces. He takes the child like accepting sacred duty. Holds her against his chest where she can hear his heartbeat. Where she can sleep while her mother remembers what normal feels like. When the baby's eyes flutter closed, he returns her carefully. Handle first. The way you hand back something precious. Something that belongs to someone else but trusted you with its keeping. The cameras catch none of this. Miss the moment that matters most. Focus on produce displays instead of the hands that arrange them with such careful thought. I build the Holt neighbor trust while Evan builds its spine. We separate its budget from Holt markets so kindness does not live and die by quarterly earnings. Charity that depends on profit margins dies when profits shrink. Love that costs only when business grows fails when business struggles. Help that waits for good times never comes when people need it most. The trust gets its own accounts. Its own board. Its own mission that exists whether grocery stores prosper or stumble. Whether stocks rise or fall. Whether the economy remembers how to care about people who work for wages. Vendor contracts learn to be strict without forgetting grace. We pay on time. We honor agreements. We expect the same courtesy we give. But we remember that everyone has weeks when cash runs tight. A volunteer app cuts no-shows in half. Simple technology that asks simple questions. Can you come? Will you come? Do you need a ride to get there? Do you need help knowing what to do when you arrive? People want to help. They need systems that make helping possible. That match abilities with needs. That turn good intentions into actual hands moving actual boxes to actual families. Evan trades with a dairy co-op that has surplus yogurt but needs the coolers we do not use. Surplus that expires becomes waste unless it becomes meals. Coolers that sit empty become waste unless they become tools. He rewrites the donation prompt at checkout registers. Removes words like needy and unfortunate. Adds phrases that sound like partnership instead of pity. Help your neighbors, the screen reads now. Round up to make sure everyone eats this week. Simple language that makes giving feel like belonging instead of charity. The difference shows in numbers. In donations that stay steady week after week instead of spiking during holidays and disappearing during ordinary Tuesdays. The board wants a director. Someone with credentials. Someone with degrees. Someone whose name looks impressive on letterhead and grant applications. I offer Evan a title with gravity but no glamour. Program Director, Holt Neighbor Trust. Work measured by mornings instead of headlines. By whether children eat breakfast instead of whether reporters write stories. You will be measured by results, I tell him. By clinic data. By school attendance. By whether people have enough food to concentrate on problems that are not hunger. He accepts the position the way he accepts everything. Quietly. Seriously. Like a man who understands that important work often looks ordinary to people who do not pay attention. His first official act is changing the pickup schedule. Earlier morning hours when children sleep and adults handle what needs handling without an audience. When dignity costs less because fewer people watch. Clinic data begins ticking the right direction. Fewer fainting episodes on bus routes that pass our distribution site. Fewer children sent home from school for symptoms that mean empty refrigerators. Elementary tardies drop on Thursdays. The day boxes arrive. The day breakfast becomes certain instead of hopeful. The day children walk to school instead of staying home to help solve problems they should not have to solve. No one writes Evan's name on these statistics. No reporter connects improved attendance to winter mornings when groceries appear without questions asked or forms filled or dignity surrendered. He does not write his name either. Measures success in ways that matter more than credit. In ways that Arthur taught me to measure. In ways that count people instead of counting praise. At Hollowell, June grows into her grandmother's shadow. Follows me room to room like a small detective investigating how houses work when love lives inside them. She helps me sort mail by dropping letters into wrong piles and laughing when I correct her mistakes. Helps me dust furniture by spreading dust around instead of collecting it. Helps me cook dinner by standing on a stool and stirring pots that need no stirring. Her help costs more time than it saves. Creates more work than it finishes. But teaches her that work shared becomes lighter even when it becomes longer. She calls me Margie because Margaret has too many sharp corners for a mouth still learning how to shape words. Because Margie sounds like belonging. Like family. Like love that does not require perfection. On Saturdays she pushes a child-sized cart through store number 14 after closing. Through aisles empty except for us. Through spaces where she can touch everything without breaking rules. She announces that the aisles are brave now. That they are ready for customers. That morning will bring people who need what we have arranged for their finding. Her announcements echo through empty store like prayers. Like blessings. Like promises that tomorrow will take care of the people who need taking care of. Evan carries his tiredness differently now. Like weight that serves purpose instead of just burdening shoulders. Like exhaustion earned through helping instead of just surviving. When he comes home from late meetings with clinic coordinators and school counselors, he finds June bathed and fed and ready for bedtime stories. Finds dinner waiting in the warm kitchen. Finds rest that comes easier when the day's work meant something. He tells me about families served, about children who ate breakfast, about mothers who slept better knowing next week's groceries were already arranged, about fathers who worked extra shifts because someone else handled the food shopping. Small victories that build into larger hope. Individual meals that add up to community health. Personal dignity preserved that strengthens neighborhood trust. The trust steadies into something that holds weight without breaking. That catches people when they stumble without making them feel caught. That provides help that feels like respect. Winter Basket grows to 6 towns. Each location chosen for privacy instead of convenience. For dignity instead of publicity. For serving people instead of serving cameras. We make mistakes that teach better methods. Make successes that do not boast. Make progress that measures itself in whether people eat instead of whether people notice. When a nor'easter shoulders up the coast, power flickers and returns. Trucks run late but still run. Volunteers show up despite weather that gives everyone excuses to stay home. We do not lose a single box to the storm. Do not cancel a single pickup. Do not let weather become the reason someone goes hungry when we promised they would not. That night the estate feels less like a monument to loss. More like a house that decided to be useful. That remembered its purpose. That chose function over form. Like rooms that finally hold the laughter Arthur designed them for. Like hallways that echo with small footsteps instead of old grief. Like kitchens where 3 generations share meals around tables that waited 30 years to matter again. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Trouble carries familiar perfume. The kind that turns your stomach before your mind recognizes the scent. Claire buzzes from Boston headquarters on a Tuesday morning. 2 visitors, she tells me. No appointment. They insist on seeing Mr. Reed. The names that follow taste bitter in my mouth before I hear them completely. Derek. Susan. The parents who said no when June got sick. Who closed doors when their son needed shelter. For a moment my office shrinks to the size of an old argument. To the dimensions of a betrayal that killed my husband. That started with those same voices asking for things they had no right to request. Derek opens with charm. The kind that worked when he was 12 and wanted extra dessert. When he was 16 and needed car keys. When he was 28 and needed access to his father's safe. Mother, he says, the word warm as winter sunlight through glass. Bright but giving no real heat. We would like to reconnect with Evan. Family should stick together during difficult times. I study his face for traces of the boy who used to help Arthur sort inventory. Who learned to count change before he learned to steal it. Who once believed helping customers was the same as helping family. That boy died the night he opened the safe. Died when greed became more important than the heart attack it would cause. When money mattered more than the man who earned it. Susan stands beside him wearing clothes that cost more than they look. The kind of expensive that tries to appear humble. That wants credit for dressing down without actually stepping down. Her eyes scan my office like a real estate appraiser. Taking inventory of what success looks like. Calculating what Derek's reconnection with Evan might be worth in dollars and cents. They have heard about the trust, Derek continues. About Evan's position. About opportunities that come with being family to someone who builds charitable organizations. His voice carries the same tone he used as a child when asking to borrow money. Sweet and reasonable and completely dishonest about what the money would fund and when it might return. We understand there may have been misunderstandings, Susan adds. Her smile practiced in mirrors. Rehearsed for occasions when forgiveness becomes profitable. Family should support each other, she says. Especially when children are involved. When futures depend on making peace with the past. I ask them where they were when June burned with fever. When Evan slept under highway overpasses. When their grandchild coughed like something breaking inside tiny lungs. Derek's charm flickers like candlelight in wind. We had our own struggles, he says. Our own difficulties to manage. Sometimes timing makes family connection complicated. Timing. As if love operates on schedules. As if helping your child depends on convenient calendar openings. As if June's pneumonia should have called ahead to arrange a better moment for grandparental concern. They want introductions. They want meetings. They want proximity to a story that turned out better than they planned. They want access to success they never supported. To opportunities they never created. To hope they never offered. I slide a legal packet across my desk. No contact order. Restraining order. Legal language that builds walls with words instead of bricks. The papers settle between us like a boundary drawn in ink. Like a decision that cannot be undone with charm or excuses or sudden concern for family unity. If Evan wants you in his life, I tell them, he will find you. He knows where you live. He remembers how you sound when you say no. He will contact you if contact becomes something he needs. You will not find him through our doors. You will not reach him through our phones. You will not use our business as a pathway to his trust or his daughter's future. Derek's jaw sets the way mine sets when doors refuse to open. When safe combinations do not work. When the world says no to what you want most. Are you proud of cutting your own son out of everything? He asks. His voice losing its careful warmth. Showing the anger that lived beneath the charm all along. Pride is the wrong word for protecting what needs protecting. The wrong word for stopping infection from spreading. The wrong word for building walls that keep poison from reaching another generation. I am protective, I tell him. That is my work now. Protecting what your theft destroyed. Protecting who your betrayal could still damage. Protecting June from learning that grandparents are people who help when help becomes profitable. Security walks them to the elevator with practiced kindness. The kind of professional courtesy that escorts problems away without creating scenes. Without raising voices. Without giving anyone reasons to call police or reporters. When the elevator doors close, my office remembers its actual size. The walls move back to their proper positions. The air clears of perfume that smells like old lies dressed in new desperation. I let my hands shake until they finish shaking. Until the tremor works its way through my fingers and out into air that can absorb it without judgment. Without comment. Without requiring explanation. Then I call Hollowell. Claire connects me to the estate phone that rings in the kitchen where Evan makes June's lunch. Where June sits in her high chair practicing words that almost make sense. We are fine, I tell them. We are safe. We are protected by laws and lawyers and security systems that work whether I remember to worry about them or not. But mostly we are protected by distance. By choices that keep toxic people away from healing people. By boundaries that matter more than blood relations that never learned how to nurture what they created. That afternoon I review the trust's security protocols. The procedures that keep volunteers safe. That keep families receiving help safe from people who want to help themselves to what others have built. Background checks. Reference calls. Waiting periods that let time reveal character before character gains access to vulnerable people. Systems that protect without insulting. That trust without becoming naive. Derek taught me that family can be more dangerous than strangers. That blood relations carry no guarantee of good intentions. That sharing DNA does not mean sharing values that matter when crisis tests what people truly believe. June will grow up knowing that love means showing up when showing up costs something. That family means helping when help requires sacrifice. That grandparents are people who choose children's welfare over their own comfort. She will learn that some doors stay closed because what lives behind them would poison what lives in front of them. That some relationships end because ending them protects what matters more than maintaining them. The legal papers sit in my safe now. Next to Arthur's will. Next to June's medical records. Next to documents that prove some battles are worth fighting and some victories are worth the cost of winning them. Evening comes to Boston Harbor like forgiveness that arrives too late to matter. Like beauty that cannot undo ugly things but can outlast them. I drive home to Hollowell knowing the gates will close behind me. Knowing the alarms will activate. Knowing June sleeps safely in rooms where her grandfather's ghost approves of the choices his widow makes to protect what he loved most. Family is not who shares your blood. Family is who shares your burden when burden becomes too heavy for one person to carry alone. Tonight we are family. We are safe. We are enough. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. June learns to run and then to stop on a dime. Turning back like a gull teasing waves. Like childhood testing the edges of how far safety extends. She calls me Margie because Margaret carries too many corners for a mouth still learning how to shape love into sounds. Margie fits her tongue better. Fits our kitchen better. Fits the grandmother I became when she needed one. On Saturdays she pushes her child-sized cart through store number 14 after closing time. Through aisles empty except for us and the echo of her footsteps on polished floors. She announces that the aisles are brave again. Ready for Monday customers. Ready for people who need what we have arranged for their finding. Her voice carries through the empty store like a blessing on tomorrow's work. Evan carries his tiredness differently now. Like a pack he can set down for supper. Like exhaustion that serves purpose instead of just weighing shoulders down. Like work that means something beyond surviving another day. The trust steadies into a net that holds without breaking. That catches people when they stumble without making them feel caught. That provides help disguised as respect. A truck runs late during the February ice storm. The driver calls ahead to apologize for weather he cannot control. For roads that refuse to cooperate with schedules written by people who forget that New England winter makes its own rules. We adjust pickup times without adjusting expectations. Volunteers show up when they can instead of when they promised. Families arrive when travel becomes safe instead of when appointments suggest they should. The system bends without breaking. Adapts without failing. Serves people instead of serving timetables that matter less than the people who need serving. A freezer sulks through a power outage in March. Temperature rising degree by degree toward the point where food becomes waste. Where help becomes harm. Where good intentions spoil in warm air. The backup generator kicks in before anyone loses anything. Before milk sours or meat thaws or vegetables wilt into disappointment. Before failure becomes the reason someone goes hungry. We made mistakes in the early months. Learned from deliveries that arrived late. From volunteers who did not show. From families who needed different help than the help we planned to give. Each mistake taught better methods. Each failure pointed toward improvements that worked. Each problem solved became a solution ready for the next time similar problems appeared. Winter basket grows to 6 towns. Each location chosen for privacy over convenience. For dignity over efficiency. For serving people who need help more than serving people who want to feel helpful. We make wins that do not boast. Success that measures itself in clinic data instead of newspaper headlines. Progress that counts children eating breakfast instead of counting donations received. When a nor'easter shoulders the coast in March, power flickers but returns. Roads close but reopen. Snow falls but melts. Nature reminds us who makes the final decisions about timing. We do not lose a single box to the storm. Do not cancel a single pickup. Do not let weather become the reason someone goes without food when we promised food would be there. Evan's work speaks in numbers that matter to people instead of accountants. Fewer fainting episodes on bus routes that pass our distribution centers. Elementary school tardies dropping on delivery days. Clinic visits for nutrition-related problems declining month by month. At year's end I call a small ceremony in our quietest store. After hours when only staff and board members attend. When recognition happens without cameras. When success gets measured in private before it gets announced in public. Succession is not a crown, I tell the assembled group. It is a relay race. It is passing responsibility to hands that can carry it further than the hands that carried it first. I name Evan Executive Director of the Holt Neighbor Trust. Answerable to the board but free to move quickly when weather and need demand immediate action. When help cannot wait for committee meetings and proper procedures. His title comes with authority to spend emergency funds. To hire staff when workload exceeds volunteer capacity. To expand programs when communities demonstrate need that current services cannot meet. But mostly it comes with freedom to care about people who need caring about. To solve problems that matter to families trying to keep food on tables and hope in hearts. On the store's loading dock afterward, June demands to be swung higher. Her laughter echoing off concrete walls that usually hear only truck engines and forklift beeps. Her joy turning industrial space into playground. We oblige her request with the seriousness that childhood rituals deserve. With the understanding that swinging a giggling granddaughter matters as much as any board meeting or budget approval. That night I move my belongings into the gatehouse behind Hollowell's main house. Not because the big rooms feel empty. But because bedtime stories work better when the storyteller lives close enough to hear when nightmares need interrupting. The gatehouse sits at the perfect distance for independence and intimacy. Close enough for June to run across the garden when she needs Margie hugs. Far enough for Evan to raise his daughter without grandmother supervision of every decision. From my kitchen window I can see their breakfast table. See June in her high chair practicing the complicated business of feeding herself. See Evan reading morning reports while coffee cools in cups that get refilled but never emptied. The main house holds their private life. Family dinners around Arthur's table. Bath time in the deep tub Arthur installed for visiting grandchildren. Bedtime stories in the nursery Arthur designed for small dreams. My smaller space holds the quieter moments. June's afternoon naps when she needs grandmotherly rocking instead of parental instruction. Tea parties with stuffed animals that listen better than humans. Cookie baking that teaches patience through waiting for timers. The porch light stays on between our two homes. Not because anyone needs finding, but because light connects what distance separates. Because June sleeps better knowing Margie's house glows in the darkness. Because home means having people who leave lights on for you. Spring arrives at Hollowell with marsh grass growing tall enough to hide June when she plays explorer. With oak buds opening into leaves that shade the playground Arthur built but never saw children use. June discovers dandelions and announces they are beautiful flowers, not weeds. Her perspective changing what I see when I look at the same yellow blooms that used to annoy the gardener. She picks bouquets of dandelions for both houses. For Daddy's breakfast table and Margie's tea service. For brightening rooms that remember how to hold children's gifts with the reverence such gifts deserve. The trust operates with the smooth efficiency of systems that learned from their mistakes. Of people who understand that serving others serves something larger than self-interest. Of work that connects purpose with paycheck. Evan measures success the way Arthur taught me to measure it. By mornings when children eat breakfast. By evenings when parents sleep knowing tomorrow's food is already arranged. By the absence of problems that poverty creates when poverty gets addressed before it becomes crisis. His name appears on few reports, but his influence shows in all the data that matters. In families served. In dignity preserved. In children who concentrate on learning instead of concentrating on hunger. Succession becomes not about replacing what came before but extending what works into whatever comes next. Not about taking over but about carrying forward. Not about ending but about continuing with different hands holding the same mission. Arthur's dream lives in these rooms again. Lives in June's laughter echoing through hallways. Lives in family dinners around tables that waited 30 years to matter. Lives in the sound of small footsteps running between houses that love connects across garden paths. The estate remembers its purpose. The trust serves its mission. The family grows into the space that waited for their coming home.